Hi besties, welcome back. You are here because you want to get a distinction in your paper 1. If you have been struggling with paper 1 or struggling to get a distinction, you have come to the right channel to discuss paper 1 English. So let us first talk about structure. Everything in this paper is compulsory, so you do not skip a question. 1 mark could change your entire life, so do not skip a question. Okay, comprehension is the first part and it's typically about 30 marks of the paper. 10 marks is a summary, and the last part is language structures and conversions. And usually for English FAL, it's 40 marks, and for home language, it's typically 30. So home language paper 1 would be about 70 marks. For first additional, it would be 80 points. Are we together? So make sure you're writing the same paper. If you did FAL throughout the whole year, you're going to write FAL. You're not going to write home language in final now. You got this. So to be part of the elite gang that got distinctions from last year, you need to listen to what to do and what not to do when you're studying. I'm going to be sharing insights from the department as well as to what they say you should and should not be doing. Firstly, let's start with the comprehension. This is where every learner should be able to score 20 out of 30. Most of the questions in a comprehension would say, go to paragraph this. Name 2 things that, So what does that bring me to? How do you answer your questions? There's a debate whether you should actually start with your questions or start with reading the comprehension. Let me tell you what I do. This one, I feel like it's more of a personal preference. I prefer to read the questions to understand what they're asking. We are back. So you go and read the comprehension. Once you read it, you start seeing the questions answer themselves. Name 2 things that do this. But also starting with the reading to get an overall idea is quite a standard way of going about these things. You read the story, you read the title and see how it all fits. What's the story about? What's the theme? Like you're trying to now picture what is it that you're reading. Take note of very important things that they discuss. And then now let's talk about the elephant in the room. How do you answer those difficult to answer questions? Discuss the suitability of a title. What does that mean? Is the title suitable enough for the passage you just read? What is the title saying and what is the piece you just read about? Are they aligning? If they are not, then you need to highlight that. You must highlight that, and when would it be suitable? If we're talking about AI, but the title is very off, for example, we just say maybe changing lives, then the topic is vague. The title is very vague and doesn't really cover what has been discussed. The other question they could ask you, that is a high order question, is they could ask you, discuss the suitability of a conclusion to conclude the entire piece. How do you answer that question? So what that question wants from you essentially is the conclusion. What is a conclusion? It's there to summarize. Is this a summary of what has been discussed or is it new information? That is what you need to tell us there. That is how you do very well in that. And when it comes to listening, make sure you listen. If they say list, you need to list. If they say explain, explain. If they ask you to identify or to quote, if we say quote 6 consecutive words, we mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are next to one another. You're not going to skip spaces. So you go back to that paragraph, you find out which one makes sense. 6 words consecutive. Make sure you pay attention to that. Summary. In a summary, there's usually more than 7 answers. How do you get 10 out of 10? You don't copy them as they are. Let me give you an example. Since I'm a dentist, there was a question that I was talking about taking care of your oral health. Let's say one of the things will say, floss your teeth. How would you paraphrase it? Flossing your teeth is very important. You're done. You don't need to be Beyonce and come up with things. Just don't say it the way they said it. Change a bit, even if it's 1 word. You see, a summary is where you're supposed to get at least 8 out of 10. You'll get 7 out of 10 if you copy and paste directly, because then that's called quoting. But the 3 marks is for you using your own language without losing the meaning of what is being said. I'd always advise you to write the title and then read, and then highlight 8 things. Don't include examples. Examples are typically excluded when you summarize. Main points. What is the title of the summary? What does it want, and did I give that? Highlight again, and then skip. Move to the next question. Then come back and see, did you highlight the right things or did you highlight more at this time? That is how you get good marks. Then we have a cartoon and an advert and a language. Let's stop with a cartoon and an advert. Let's get right into the language component. Every single year, the questions are the same. Let me open a question paper so that you can see what I'm talking about. I just want you guys to see that for question 5, they always ask the same thing. But you guys are not catching it. And I've been trying to tell you guys that they ask the same thing. Let me tell you. They'll ask you to correct single errors for 4 marks. They will always ask you to correct an error. And look at the memo as to how they present the answers. They'll ask you to write words in correct form. Another one would be to either give a synonym. They could ask you to write an essay in passive voice, a sentence in passive voice. And let me tell you, if you're asked to write something either in a reported speech, remember that quotations are very important. Starting the sentence and using capitals for nouns such as people's names and places is very important in this. If you do not have your capital letter and your punctuation properly, you will not get the full marks for that question. Things that also come here is tag questions, negative form, degrees of comparison, punctuation marks, and parts of speech. When it comes to parts of speech, let me give you a tip. If they say that this is a proper noun, and they ask you to tell what is it, when you look at the memo, when you write the word noun, it is usually correct. And then they will typically write it in brackets, proper. So if you are really not sure what kind of a noun it is, then just write noun. Because if you're gonna say it's a different kind of noun and it's actually a proper, you are cooked. Please go and check at least 5 previous question papers for question 5. They ask the same thing. You know how to do a question tag, you know how to correct single errors, you know how to write a degree of comparison, you know how to write an answer in reported speech, and passive form, you already have 12 out of 20, if not more. It's very, very easy. Now let us go to cartoon and advert. I'm going to give you guys the final tips. One thing that is very important in a paper 1 paper is context. It's very important that your answers are contextualized. What do I mean by that? For example, if there's an advertisement, what is the advert saying? You can't just say, let's say there's a Coca-Cola advert. You can't say it's for people who drink Coca-Cola. You need to be detailed. Don't be vague. And also understand, when we say name a product, for example, I'll say Coca-Cola Sprite, and then I say name the product. What's the product? Tell me in the comment section, what would the product be? Tell me. And then you need to know certain things that they use, different fonts, colors, and design. What do they use it? Another question that typically comes either in the advert or the comprehension, they would typically ask you, why has it been added? Why has figures been added? Or for example, when they are writing an article and they say, according to specialists, this has been highlighted that A, B, C, D. Or they will highlight that according to New York's trusted da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Why do they add that? This is to strengthen the reliability of whatever it is they say. Because if a specialist has spoken about this thing, it means that they're the real deal. You get that? Very, very important. Make sure that you answer your cartoon and advert last, once you've done the questions that will get you the most marks. Remember that a cartoon and an advert is 10 marks each. Go to the documents. When you just search online, English first additional or home language paper 1 cartoon notes, you will get the notes. You will not go wrong. The most important thing in this paper is for you to have context. Similar to life sciences, context is very important. If your answer is not contextualized, meaning that it's not relevant to what we say. For example, in life sciences, for those that do life sciences, I'm sure you've gotten this wrong before, but if they say, how would you do this, and then you say increase sample size, you would most likely get it wrong, because increase sample size of what? Your marks? Increase sample size of what? The X behind me? What are we increasing the sample size of? Context is important. Increase the sample size of the male participants. Do you see how contextualized that is? That is relevant to the question being asked. Very important. My besties, that's it. We're not going to talk for too long. Go out there and get those notes. You got this. This paper is the easiest paper you're going to come across. Make sure you study and you practice at least 3 question papers. Do at least 3 to 4 question 5s and you will thank me on Wednesday. Bye besties, good luck.